Well, would you believe it? England have had another bad day at the cricket. My name's John Etheridge. Welcome to the review of day 2, the 5th and final test match of the Ashes series here at the famous Sydney Cricket Ground, and I'm afraid to say the record is stuck. It's the same old story. England have batted terribly. They've been demolished by the Australian bowlers, Mitch Johnson, Ryan Harris, Peter Siddle, Nathan Lyon, the same guys causing the same trouble for the England batsmen. England bowled out for 155, and in reply, in their second innings, Australia had reached 140 for 4 at the close of day 2, an overall lead of 311, and you would think that's already far too many runs for England to get the pitch. It's difficult to bat on. There's enough movement for the quick bowlers. There's some uneven bounce coming in now, and it's also taking increasing spin. So already 311 runs ahead. You suspect that's going to be enough, but by the time the Australian second innings finishes, it's going to be 400 plus, you would imagine, and that's going to be just out of sight for England. So I'm afraid to say we're looking at a 5-0 whitewash. This has been the spectre that's been hanging over England probably for the last 2 or 3 test matches, and sometime in the next 48 hours it's going to come to reality. England started at 8 for 1 overnight. They'd already lost Michael Carberry on the first evening, and within 2 balls Alistair Cook, the captain, had departed as well. He left an in-swinger from Ryan Harris, plum LBW. Ian Bell promoted up the order. First ball he was dropped, a really simple catch actually by Shane Watson, shelled at first slip, but he wasn't able to make it pay. Bell eventually was out for 2, scored off 32 deliveries, just couldn't get going at all. Jimmy Anderson, the night watchman, he was caught in the slips. Kevin Peterson failed again, and England found themselves 23 for 5. Would you believe it? 23 for 5. The ball was nibbling around, it was doing all sorts. England looked just shot, and he thought, well, they could be bowled out here for 50. Anything was possible. Such was the total dominance that the Aussies had over the England batsmen. Gary Ballance on his debut, he was hit actually on the grill of the helmet by Mitch Johnson. Took 8 minutes before they found another helmet that fitted him properly, but he went on and managed to get a few runs. Johnny Bairstow likewise never looked particularly convincing, but got a few. The best England batsman again was Ben Stokes. Of course, he took 6 wickets on the first day, managed to score 47 in England's first innings before he left a straight ball from Peter Siddle and was bowled. I mean, again, a really terrible misjudgment. As well as Stokes batted, it was a very soft way to get out, and so it continued. The batsman just fell away. Scott Borthwick on his debut was caught in the slips for just 1, and England at one stage looked as though they wouldn't even manage to reach the follow-on target, but a bit of a late flurry for the last wicket between Stuart Broad, who made 30, and Boyd Rankin on his debut made 13 it was, took them past the follow-on target. As it happened, Michael Clarke probably wouldn't have enforced the follow-on, but I suppose it was some sort of psychological barrier, and they eventually got to 155 all out, but a big first innings deficit and of 171 runs, and Australia built on it. England took some wickets. Jimmy Anderson got a couple of early wickets, and Stuart Broad took one which took him to 237, one more than the legendary former England bowler Alec Bedser, who had 236, and Broad now stands 9th on the all-time England list. Another wicket for Ben Stokes to follow up his 6 in the first innings, but by the close Chris Rogers was 73 not out, and George Bailey was having a bit of a swing as well, and so Australia already 311 runs ahead. It's going to be probably 400 plus by the time they're finished. England's task looks impossible. The pitch is difficult, and I'm afraid only a miracle is going to prevent England losing this final test match and the Ashes. Sadly, we're staring at a 5-0 whitewash. I wish I could bring happier news. It's a lovely city, Sydney. It's got the Harbour Bridge, it's got the Opera House, but it's also got England batting captors. Cheers for now.